Friends, if you're looking for real old-school laughs, you're in for a treat because we've got them right here. Flip City Magazine. Remember MEAD magazine? Then it went woke? Well, don't worry. Flip City has no chance of going woke. That's right. 4 times a year, you'll get an actual printed magazine full of jokes, stories, comics, and more, all about today's pop culture, entertainment, and woke politics. Flip City takes terrible entertainment trends we love to hate with hilarious parodies of Lord of the Rings, Stranger Things, The Walking Dead, Star Trek, Hunters, and more. Trust me when I say there is nothing else like Flip City on the market. So subscribe today. It will be delivered in print, or you can even get it digitally if you're one of those wacky Zoomers. Either way, follow our link and sign up today, and if you put in midnight, you get an extra 10% off. Check out Flip City Magazine today.
We're gonna get a little bit crazy, wild and maybe even vulgar if you please. After talking, we're gonna light it up. We got some fun in store for you, no tease. It's time for Midnight Sesh. Talk a little naughty, a little naughty. We'll hopefully make you chuckle, but we ain't trying to hurt nobody. So get it ready quick on the double, 'cause it's time for Midnight Sesh. After talk.
Weird.
It's time for your favorite podcast on YouTube. That's right. Midnight Edge After Dark Live. I'll never tell a lie, that's for sure. We got some news tonight. Joker, Star Wars, Gladiator 3, and so much more. Welcome to the program, everybody. How you doing, kids?
That's right. We have our cast here this afternoon so far. We've got Price of Reason. How you doing?
I'm good. How's it going?
Doing good. Doing the best I can. Running behind, but as always, trying to keep up. But hopefully you're doing well.
Yeah, I'm good. Happy to be here.
Glad to have you. We also have CC coming in from Canada.
Glad to be here too. I suffered through Joker 2, so that I could
I'm sorry
be
to hear
prepared
that.
for Culture's show on the weekend, and then he didn't have his show. I was like, wow, I just suffered for nothing.
Well, we'll be talking about it today. So, and yeah, 6. We already knew about Gladiator 3, but yeah, we'll talk about it anyway. And then we also have Nick Weiser here. How you doing?
Busy watching the movie Stab. How are you?
Do you like scary movies?
Yes.
Tell me, Nick, what's your favorite scary movie?
Halloween.
Who is the killer in Halloween?
Michael.
Wrong answer. It was Rob Zombie who killed the franchise.
That was good. Well played, Tom. That was perfectly executed. But yeah, happy to be here. Joker movie is causing problems, and it is a great aftermath to watch implode. And hello, chat.
Yes, hello. Indeed, we got 6 firing in already. I believe it is a pooper sticker. Thank you, 6, for the pooper sticker. We appreciate it. You can always hop in if you want to, of course. I see we got some regulars like Goddess of Win, Batman. Well, we have Daryl Brewer here, also swinging a wrench, along with Goddess of Women 6. We got, let's see here. We got Phoenix Knight. We got Fallen Angel. We got Lombardi. We got Colorly and Rogue. Let's see.
Rumor has it that Daryl has a big wrench.
Does he? Well, hello. We also have Popsicle. And Davina Duckworth is here. Welcome, kids. Share out the link. Let everybody know we're live. Hit that like button. We got Church Boy here. Superior Knave. Beep Bop Boop says good evening, and good evening to you. We got Neil here as well. How you doing, Neil? Junker 2. Why was this even made? Well, we're going to talk a little bit about that. Yeah, and holler if you hear. We hear you, Luke. You don't have to holler. We got Snowdub in the house. How you doing, Snowdub? And we got a super sticker from Goddess of Women. It's a little Sheba dog, farting hearts. Thank you so much for that, Goddess of Women. We appreciate the support. Hopefully you're having a great night. And yes, that is right. Scream tonight on Toxic Tuesday 6. That is correct. And this will lead you over there after the show. But yeah, let's get into some business here because we got news and other stuff to talk about. If you want to call it that. So yeah, the Joker is having some troubles. Ridley's already talking Gladiator 3, which Six did mention already in the chat. We had already kind of knew about, but I just think it's kind of funny. It's like, why don't you wait and see how Gladiator 2 does first before you start talking about
8 pages.
That's the day and age, sadly, that we live in nowadays, that we announce a bunch of movies, assuming that because, well, once again, our built-in audience, they're going to just flock to, it's going to be enough for them to flock to this movie that even if they don't like it, well, we got a third one. So they now think that Gladiator is now a franchise.
It's also a psychological franchise. It's psychological warfare. Basically, by saying this, he's making it seem like this upcoming one is so great. And planting that seed
and important, yeah.
It's so great whatever's happening, there's already talks of a third one because that's how confident everybody is in the second one. But I think it's a ploy. I don't think anybody's confident in the second one. I don't think any studio is thinking about a third one now. And I don't think this movie is going to be very good, personally.
I want to know what the logic is behind them flooding the arena, turning it into like a water battle. And what seems to be a very dry
Ridley's
place.
into water sports? I don't know. But here's a collectible tub and cup. I don't know if this is even fucking real. Sometimes I don't know whether to trust the physical media guy or not, because he posts some bullshit sometimes just to be funny. But I think it's legit.
It looks legit. If
it is legit, this is hilariously dumb.
You think so? I think it's okay.
Yeah, this is officially to me. This is like
MF Doom. It looks like MF Doom.
This is almost as bad as my Horizon joke, the one I did, the popcorn bucket.
Yeah. Oh, hold on. Yeah, someone posted on the right. MF Doom. Too good.
Yeah. So,
I was gonna say, I
was trying to find my Horizon thing, but I couldn't find it. I don't know what I do with it.
Oh, Horizon.
Just kind of to show people what I was talking about for those who may have missed it. But
I'm trying to think who has yet to come out with a really awesome popcorn bucket. That would be really cool for a movie to have a popcorn bucket.
The Venom one, I'm not excited about the movie, but I do admit that the Venom one, in some pictures, I don't know which one is real and which isn't, but the Venom one could be cool.
I don't think I've seen the Venom one yet, but Six just sent it to me that the Discussing Film also shared it, so it must be real. Oh my.
Well, if those, never mind. I don't want to get your channel in trouble.
Oh,
I was going to say my thoughts about them, but I'll keep it to myself.
You could always put
it in film.
I was going to say, you can always put it in the private.
They block a lot of people. They're shitheads, I know.
Yeah, but I mean, I'll just say this, not that it matters. I mean, I'm not trying to be a hater. I understand that they have a large following at this point, but I will say that they sort of built their whole empire during the previous Twitter regime, where people like us would be criticizing studios and shadow banned, and they would be kind of kissing their ass all day, and they would be amplified. and that's how they actually built an entire operation of just kissing ass and being communists. But it's okay. I mean, they do give. I give them credit. They look at Variety, and immediately when there's an article, they just see what the headline is, and they paste it into discussing film, and then they share it. And yeah, I mean, somebody has to sit there and look at those trades and copy and paste.
It's a shitty job, but somebody's got to do it.
Sorry, man. Now I'll be quiet.
You're fine. Don't apologize to me, man.
No, because it always bothers me. And then, like, suddenly, once in a while, they get political, and then they remove responses. Like, they're like, oh, you should all contact your congressman to do this, this, and this. And then there's, like, no way to respond to their tweet. It's like, are you guys sort of neutral ass kissers, or are you politicians? But I know a lot of people really like them. So if you love them, that's fine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But no,
right.
let's get back to the. I'm sorry I brought us off track.
No, you're totally fine, dude. Anyhow, let me. I was just messing with something here. Nothing that had anything to do with the show. Because, like I said, I've been behind all day long. So yeah. Anyhow, let's get into the Joker talk since we brought it up already. And we don't have any other super chats or member chats to get to in the meantime. But thank you again, Six and Got Us a Win, for the support. We appreciate it. So yeah, the Joker has been the talk of the town, not because of the box office, but just because it's just been such a flop. And you got articles like this where it says why no one will get fired over Joker Follow a Duel. Well, we've been saying this shit already anyway, right? So this says when Michael DeLuca and Pam Abdy took over as co-heads of Warner Brothers movie studio in early June 2021, one of the first decisions they made was to move forward with the sequel to Joker, the Oscar-winning billion-dollar hit that helped redefine the heights and comic book movie could reach. So what this is trying to do is separate itself from James Gunn, basically. Virtually all key deals were already put in place by their predecessor, Toby Emmerich, and they're separating it from Mr. Zaslav. With A-list director Todd Phillips and star Joaquin Phoenix getting $20 million paydays, as we reported, and the film landing rich net budget of $190 million. I've been hearing closer to 2. Once you add in all the P&A, it's a lot more than that.
How did they even spend that much money? It's just like they're interior prison sets with nothing special about them the vast majority of the time.
Well, you just saw, like, a big part of it was the paydays for Phillips and Phoenix, and Gaga reportedly got $10 million too. Phillips is a huge asset for Warner Brothers his home studio. Is he, though? Wait a minute, I got a sticker for that. Where'd it go? God damn it, I suck. Somebody fire me.
Is he though?
Yeah, that's way too late.
You're fired.
You fired. One small outstanding matter was Lady Gaga's so she got $12 million.
So if they paid her $12 million and it wasn't even a musical, they just mumbled parts of songs, and they had maybe one generously 2 actual songs in the entire movie.
She's not get she didn't get paid for her bad singing. She basically got paid because of who she is in another industry, and she knew she could get that type of money. So I hate saying it, but she's definitely in a position where she could argue for that type of money. So it is what it is in that regard. But regardless, this should have never been a musical. This should have just never been made.
Even it's not a musical. That's what I'm saying. They mumble like 30 seconds of a song a bunch of times, and then they have maybe one musical.
There was enough songs where it's got calling it a musical. There's enough songs there, especially not just the amount of songs, but how much of it that took up the movie. We're talking somewhere between 30 and 40% of the movie.
I have
the shittiest musical of all time.
I have to point out here that people didn't like it when I said it, but even when we were watching those commercials for those trailers, I told everybody here that making it a musical is going to be crap. And some people thought, well, maybe there's a reason for why they're doing it, and it's like an interesting take. It's not an interesting take. First of all, musicals in general, it's a specific genre. You know, you may like it, you may not like it, but when your first movie wasn't a musical, the second one, people singing every 5 minutes when there's no plot and no screenplay, that's a recipe for disaster.
It still could have been made to work, though, Price, and that was the point I was getting at the time.
Okay, I'll tell you how it could have been made to work. If, let's say, there was one scene that was a musical, I'll give you an example. It's not a musical, but I'll give you an example. The Big Lebowski, there's the scene where he has sort of a dream where he's drugged, and he's dreaming that he's in a bowling alley and Saddam Hussein is giving him bowling shoes and all that good stuff. And that part is really kind of surreal and doesn't really connect with the plot of, like, it's not really a part of the plot of the movie, but it is connected to it. But even though it's a dream sequence with the sort of song and this very kind of cartoonish thing, you accept it for whatever it is, you enjoy it, and it's an enjoyable segment of the movie. But Joker didn't just have a segment like that. They wanted them to start singing every 5 minutes, and sometimes really for no reason.
Well, I would argue, here's my point. And here's where I thought at first when this idea first came together, and this is the problem, is it comes off so half-baked and like 2 or 3 other people's ideas mixed together, which we've come to learn to find out that's kind of what it was. You could have done this had it been the musical sequences, and even with the title of Follow a Dude, that's what kind of made me think this is where it was going to go. Was the first film was, basically almost all in Arthur's head. I thought this movie, to make that same kind of concept work, you can't do it again in Arthur's head per se, but you could in Harley's. And it's almost like they kind of half had this idea in the film, because you even have that scene where he says, "Quit singing to me. I just want you to talk to me now." What it should have been is that Harley was this person who was so like introverted that she was into musicals and all that kind of stuff. And that's kind of how she communicated herself through a certain way. And in that, you could have done some elaborate kind of sequences that are all in her mind, right? And at some point, the two combine, and you kind of have that one scene where they kind of do, right? But it just seems so half-heartedly done, half-assed, and when all you're going to do is jukebox in old musical songs that nobody who's on TikTok now would know, it's kind of pointless. Like I said the other day, I'm like, you were better off almost having, coming in and doing like a Baz Luhrmann thing where you took modern songs and did a musical version of them in the film to make it fit within the plot, right? And they didn't even do that. And then you also have Lady Gaga here, who is a songwriter, right? Why aren't you just writing original songs then if you want to do this? And again, it could all have worked had it been in her head, and at some point, her craziness infects his craziness, and they mix together, and that's where you get, kind of the combination of the Follow a Dude, the shared crazy, or however that translates, or whatever it's supposed to be, the shared fantasy or whatever.
I'd love to know more about what happened behind the scenes, because it really felt like it was 2 different movies conflicting with each other.
It kind of was. So what you had here, like I was saying, because basically the rest of this article gets into how they could have said no, but they didn't, and they were already kind of in basically the same shit we were saying the last few days. They were already in a shitty spot because of Killar coming in and axing a bunch of shit and pissing off a bunch of people. So Abdi and DeLucas knew their best course of action was to try and keep Phillips happy at this point, or they were going to lose another high-profile director from Warner Brothers. So they let him do whatever the fuck he wanted. And he let Phillips come in and influence the film. And that's where I think the bigger problem is. So you got 2 complete idiots. Look, I don't care how brilliant you think Todd Phillips is. Joker 2 is not that brilliant of a fucking film. It is
not brilliant, period.
I'm saying it's the worst movie I have seen since Man of Steel. It's maybe the worst movie I've ever seen, if not second to Man of Steel. I absolutely hated it.
I mean, even in Man of Steel, I can find some things in there. To me, this feels worse than because I mean, I wouldn't even compare this to things like Madam Web or Morbius in a sense that people are, because my point is this: those were original films that took a shot. Sure, they were in the Spider-Man franchise,
yeah,
but they took a shot and they missed, right? Like that's all it was. Joker was a hit already. This is a sequel to a film that was a hit. So this is why I don't bow down to the whole, well, it's not the movie you thought it was supposed to be. Todd Phillips already said it wasn't going to be Joker from the start and all that shit, blah, 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 blah. I said, well, the problem you have now is you introduced Harley Quinn and the name of the film is Joker. And this film doesn't represent either of those 2 things in any way, shape, or form. and then you add in the musical element, which I do agree with you is a problem, right? I'm not disagreeing with you, Price, that it's not a problem, because it definitely is. But I'm just saying, like, with Lewis is kind of agreeing with me here, is like, you could have done it. Because my whole point with the first film is it felt like a TV show where they do like a Christmas Carol episode, or It's a Wonderful Life episode, or a Halloween episode where it's based on some movie or something, you know what I mean? Or some old book or story. You know, they do that all the time. So to me, it's like, okay, so this is like an episode of the Batman, although they're taking the One Bad Day storyline and doing an episode of Joker, like Taxi Driver and King of Comedy, right? So you could have done the same thing with the quote unquote musical episode with Joker 2. It was just so half fucking baked. That's my problem with it. Because there is a story here to be told. And I don't think there's any one of us here on the panel who has seen the film could disagree that there was only like 15 minutes worth of story in the entire film. And it is padded out by all these shitty songs that push the story nowhere. And I think that's kind of where you're coming from, Price, if I'm not wrong, unless I'm wrong. I mean,
they were lazy and didn't write a screenplay. What they needed was a screenplay. It was very, very easy to do this. I don't want a sequel, and they didn't need one. If you force me to do this, and I probably said it before, there was a solution. He is now high on this newfound power, on the fact that everybody thinks he's some hero, even though he's a wacko. He starts getting high on that, and he becomes crazier and crazier throughout the movie, causing mayhem and having a bunch of followers going after him, causing even more mayhem. There was a movie to be made here, and to really take that to the max and make him go fully insane, bring Harley into the fold, make her help him escape, all that other shit. It was all possible. Instead, they wanted the pussy Joker. Sorry, I have no other way to...
No, they had an agenda for that.
Dude, don't apologize. He was full on soy.
They wanted the soy boy pussy Joker.
You just said what everybody said. It should have been Bonnie and Clyde or Natural Born Killers with the Joker and Harley.
Right, but also there was the element of him like going crazy in the sense that he keeps becoming more and more crazy. There was something to do there, and I think Joaquin Phoenix as an actor could have totally delivered that. And I even think that Lady Gaga was fine opposite him. I think she was fine in a role like this. She doesn't look better than Margot Robbie, but I think for this quirky version, she would have been fine. And she just doesn't need to sing. The fact that she's a singer doesn't mean she needs to sing every second. Sometimes it's better to shut up and not sing.
The scene that exemplifies all of this for me is when Joker sorry, spoilers, whatever that matters. There's a scene where Joker finds out that the quote unquote Harley character has been lying to him about why she was in the psych ward, that she was just a bunch of lies. And he lays back and he closes his eyes and he smiles and he tells his lawyer, "You just don't get it. She's helping me." Right? Now, if they were building him up as a powerful character, then what he is saying there is, you don't get it. Everybody thinks that I don't know she's lying. And it's going to pit everyone against each other and cause more chaos. This is the joke. They think I'm worthless, but in fact, I know the game, right? And he'll play that.
Yeah.
But instead, the very next scene, they have him talking to her on the prison phone saying, "Oh, you lied to me." No.
Yeah.
It's like they completely wasted the opportunity.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right, CC. And like you were saying, Price, like, look, and this is why I hate the people going, well, this isn't the movie you expected it to be. It's like when 90% of the people are saying the same fucking thing, I think you can use that excuse, or you can say, no, fuck you. This is not the movie anybody asked for. Because again, going off what you said, Price, you're 100% right. This movie shouldn't even fucking exist to begin with. That's the first problem, right? The second problem is that you made a movie that was lived up to nobody's expectations. You also made a movie that was basically a big fuck you to the fans, and everybody's saying that, including the critics, right? And then now you got Todd Phillips here, who's claiming he wants nothing to do with DC on the $200 million misfire. Well, of course not, Todd.
Then why did he call it Joker? I mean, somebody must, I think, maybe Nick said this at some point. Why did they call it Joker? If you don't want to make a movie about the Joker, then just say...
he wasted our entire time with this whole concept. The fact that it was this character that got inspired by Joker. We don't care about that. You named this movie.
You could even have called it
Joker.
like the Clown Prince of Comedy or something like that.
Yeah,
Right,
they
Kinda
could
right.
even
Call it
had a
something else.
name similar, but instead they went all in with it. They used Gotham City, they used Harvey Dent, Harvey
Right.
Bullock, Bruce
Right.
Wayne, Harley Quinn.
But that's what
Arkham
got the
Asylum,
movie made,
Black
right?
Right.
I'm
So
even
he's a
Century.
snake. So he's a
And that's
deceitful,
Right.
That's
piece
that's
of
a
shit
Hollywood
snake.
problem.
So let's see what this says here.
Is
Or
that
go ahead.
Hollywood got away with this?
Yeah, so on September 30th, Lady Gaga blew kisses to fans outside the TCL Chinese Theater ahead of the premiere of Joker Folie Deux, while Joaquin Phoenix dropped his typical solemn face and flashed a few smiles from the red carpet. Meanwhile, Warner Brothers Discovery's David Zaslav dropped by at, the after party at Sunset Tower and mingled with the film's two high-paid lead actors as the meatless sliders, vegan Phoenixes. Of course, there's part of the problem. Phoenix's idea all over the shit. Made the rounds. For all the star wattage on display, there were some notable no-shows, namely DC studio toppers James Gunn and Peter Safran. Insiders say the duo's glaring absence for a film that is based on one of its biggest draws in the DC canon underscores a dysfunctional dynamic that played out behind the scenes on the ill-fated Warner Brothers musical. So here's the answers to those questions you were just answering. Todd Phillips wanted nothing to do with DC during the making of the film, says one agent familiar with the director's unique carve-out, which allowed him to bypass any oversight from the brand's gatekeepers. Although Gunn has publicly supported the film on social media, Phillips has distanced himself from DC. As the animated title card sequence unspooled inside the iconic Hollywood cinema in the opening minutes, it became apparent that Phillips had just given DC the middle finger and there was no DC Studios logo. If the first movie was about some down on his luck, mentally ill guy in downtrodden city, it makes maybe 150 million worldwide, not a billion, says a source familiar with the internal awkwardness. Exactly. People showed up because that guy was Joker. Exactly. Somebody's talking some sense. A DC spokesperson downplays the tension and says Gunn was busy directing the Max series Peacemaker in Atlanta, which had lost a day of production due to Hurricane Helene. While Safran was sick, a Warner Wow, what fucking excuses! Like the Gunn one, okay, fine, but Safran was sick.
You know what's funny about Gunn? When there was that Christopher Reeve movie and that other thing that had good ratings, he said, "Finally, DC, I'm in control of DC, and there's good quality." I wonder how this thing he was absent. He wasn't boasting this time.
Well, he didn't exactly say something like that, but he has come out and promoted every DC project, even though he had nothing to do with them up to this point.
Did he promote Joker?
The first one, I don't think he was around then.
No, this second one.
This one, no, I don't think he did outside of maybe one thing he said.
I'm checking his Twix right now because, I mean, granted, I don't follow him on there.
He doesn't tweet, though. He does.
No, there was something that he promoted the Christopher Reeve movie and another movie, and he's like, "This is and Penguin."
Yeah.
Once he saw good ratings for those, he's like, "This is the type of quality."
Well, he's been talking about that. I think he's the reason that Superman documentary wound up at Warner Brothers in the first place, because that was actually something they picked up from an independent company. But yeah.
I believe it. But all I'm trying to say is that once there's good ratings, he's there and he says that he's a part of that success. This Joker thing, I haven't heard him say anything about.
I got some stuff to tell you guys about that. So I've gone through all his tweets in the month of September of 2024, and there's about 5 or 6 tweets on his upcoming Creature Commando show. There's 1 or 2 tweets on the Penguin show, and there's about 2 or 3 tweets on the Christopher Reeve movie at Price of Reason I saw, and there's not a single one.
Of course, why would there be?
Joker. A whole month before the movie, there's not a single one. I'm trying to.
I think we're finding out why, and I think I see why is because he rejected any oversight from Gunn whatsoever, and I think that's why. So even though the logo does appear at the end of the film, or end of the Joker sequel, at the end of the credits, Phillips declined to comment for the story. Now, the dust has settled on the sequel's disastrous opening weekend. Plenty of soul searching is taking place on the Burbank lot. The overarching question is, the overarching question being asked is why spend $200 million to make and nearly $100 million to market. So there's our number. $300 million in there in on this motherfucker. A tentpole that ignores the DC fan base and ignores, maybe putting it mildly. As Rolling Stone review of the film succinctly put it, Joker Follow Ado has a message for fans. Go fuck yourselves. Yeah, and I think
it's an awful movie, even if it's got nothing to do with Joker. It's still an awful movie.
It just
and it should have, like, based on the sets. There weren't even any good set pieces. There was, like I said, there was maybe one song that tried for a few seconds to be kind of flashy. Otherwise, it's just people talking in drab prison cells. They could have made it for a few $1 million.
I agree with Cece. What did they spend the money on? $200 million on
the
what?
Cast. The cast. I keep telling you.
I'm not even sure the cast could have paid that much.
You have $52 million going right into the pockets of Todd Phillips.
All right, fair enough. But what about the other 150? I can make something better for 150 million.
50 of it is what they actually spent on the movie. That's your answer price. The other 100 is between other actors, cocaine, and into the pockets of some very important producers who you'll never hear.
Drugs, BJ.
Because as I keep pointing out to people, the cost of these movies, half of the money goes right into the pockets of a bunch of the producers usually.
I want to say that I want to take back the cocaine comment because the movie isn't good enough to be considered. If people were doing cocaine, this wouldn't be the movie we got.
Yeah, and I agree with Six. There was moments that even throughout. Like, one of my favorite moments in the film is when the Joker decides he's going to take over his own trial. I'm like, okay, now this movie's going to start cooking.
That was good. I thought that was actually good. That's the thing.
And then it just kind of falls flat on its face.
But that's why I say it feels like two different people with two completely different visions made the movie, and they both had their scenes in there. Because there's that point, like, again, spoilers, but when the courtroom blows up, it's a great scene. And he's stumbling outside, and a couple other Joker characters carry him off in the car. That should have been the start of his army. And instead, he just
should have the Culprits of Crime Army. Yeah, that should. One of my buddies, who I talk to, outside of the YouTube, who doesn't really know much about like culture war type of stuff. He thought the movie was okay, and he says what ruined it for him was like the ending. He said the movie should have ended when he had taken off after the explosion at the courthouse and got in his car. He could have gotten his guys together, get his team assembled.
I thought he was. I thought they were escaping there, Nick. I thought that, okay, now they're getting out of here, and then so they get stuck back in, and they're like, okay, so then in the courtroom,
it's like they filmed another scene, right? Like that took it in a totally different direction. It's not the only time, too, right? You think about the grape, food grape scene. And what came right before? What came right before it? That was that scene where he's in the courtroom and he's taking control and he's the Joker and he is ripping the system apart. That's the scene where his people come together and they overtake the prison. That's where they take over the prison and everyone busts out.
Or better yet, between that, that on one side and then on the other side, CC, you're right. That could even have been part of it, or an idea that nobody's thought of yet that you just made me think of. The prison takes all the guards hostage, and Joker with a bunch of his fiends comes in and takes the entire fucking courtroom hostage.
Yeah. I mean, and you could have gone in that direction. And instead,
he makes them sit there and he just pulls out his whole trial in front of them and he just forces them all to stay there through the whole thing. Yeah.
It would have been great, right? But instead, the very next scene is him getting, undressed.
Yeah.
And it's like there's this constant thing throughout the movie where you have this great idea that could have gone in a more awesome direction, and then it's followed by this completely different movie.
Well, it's fucked up because you have a guy who they implied was in some way or somehow sexually abused by his mother, although they still present him as a virgin, right? So he gets pussy for the first time and he gets fucked up the ass, and then all of a sudden he's like, I just made it up. It's all fake. It's like, that's the movie, guys. It's like, what the fuck? It's like, if anything, that would have empowered him more. If I was at that point, I thought, okay, he's gonna kill these fucking guards.
And he never
That's
did.
what I thought was the next thing that was gonna happen.
He never did. He ended up in a worse spot. This 2 movie was a 360 character arc. He was back in the same place he started in the first movie, maybe even arguably worse than he ever was before. Because by the end of the first movie, he's triumphant. He's the guy who all eyes are on. He's one who's running the show in town, even though he's being taken away. It's that all eyes are on him, and he feels like he's on top of the world, even though he's in jail. By this movie, at the end of this movie, he is absolutely deconstructed down, like way worse than any Batman arc we've seen, where nowadays Batman seems to be stripped of everything. I think they may have done Joker slightly even dirtier.
Yeah, because now I'm kind of getting into the idea of him taking the court hostage and being like, this trial isn't about me. This trial is about the city. Gotham City is on trial.
Well, it was all set up. He had supporters in the courtroom, and there's even that line in the movie that says the city's about to burn down.
Yeah,
and that's where and what follows that line is when he just runs off and gets kind of like put down by Harley on the steps.
He should have been calling like the mayor in, the chief of police, the commissioner, and then like finally like, and we got Golden Boy, Mr. Harvey Dent, and shit like every one of them, like, and putting the whole town on trial and then flipping it on them. And that's the whole thing, like you said, and getting this, the media and the public behind him going, wait a minute, he's right. It's the city that's the problem, and that's the natural born killer thing. You can do it without even taking it on the road, right? It's just the whole idea that feeds into the idea that Joker's claiming that it's not my fault that society made me this way. You know what I mean?
If they all have TDS, that kind of feeds into their narrative anyways. They can.
That's what I was getting, Nick, when I was watching the movie. I'm like, I think Todd is just relishing in the idea that January 6th happened between the 2 movies, because the ending of the first movie works so perfectly where you can set up this Trump allegory with Joker. And this is what I was kind of trying to say.
He needed division, and he did it by he pulled a Taika Waititi in the sense that he made this movie polarizing, not just in terms of the way this movie ended, but as we were mentioning several times, that this is a clash of 2 movies in one. And that's something Waititi is very guilty of. He takes 2 tonalities and they really don't balance each other out. He'll have these deeply serious parts, and then they get crushed immediately by a slapstick comedy, except we're dealing with a drama, dealing with a musical. Like, he doesn't juggle anything well here with the characters, with the music, the story. It's just above a paper thin story. I don't think Todd Phillips was.
We're really putting more thought into it now than he did.
Oh, of course.
So let's keep going with this, because this gets even more interesting. The movie began production in December of 2022, 2 months after Gunn and Safran took control of DC. Many expected the duo would provide notes and feedback on the R-rated musical, especially given the capital outlay involved. But Phillips balked and would only liaise with DeLuca and Abdi, and he has done little to dispel the appearance of friction, even though Gunn and Safran were on hand for the first director's cut screening for the studio. When asked by a Collider reporter if the production process changed when the pair seceded DC head Walter Hamada, or if they had any input, Phillips replied, with all due respect to them, this is kind of a Warner Brothers movie. Wow. And even Warner Brothers feedback was sometimes ignored. Sources say Zaslav met one-on-one with Phillips shortly after Warner Brothers Discovery merged in April of 2022 and was open to filming in Los Angeles if the director would make the sequel at a lower price. That's exactly... Anyway, lower price point. The studio preferred London, where it would have cost 20% less, but Phillips insisted on shooting in Los Angeles, and the budget didn't change. A Warner spokesman says studio supported the decision to film in Los Angeles, but Zaslav Phillips confab was merely meet and greet, and their way to meet and greet where they discussed what else the director wanted to make there. So yeah, like I said, at this time Zaslav was still trying to repair bridges. that he wasn't going to shake the boat too much. But yeah, like I kept hearing from everybody, getting told was like he's trying to cut the budgets on everything. But yeah, this deal was already set in place when he got there. Other battles of will between Phillips and Warner ensued. Phillips refused to test screen Joker 2. This is another thing we've talked about. So its premiere at Venice marked the first time an audience saw it. The critics rejected it, and the film tallied a disastrous 33% score on Rotten Tomatoes, well before earning a dismal D on CinemaScore. To put the grade into context, the much reviled Madam Web landed a C+ earlier this year. Warner Brothers spokesperson says, given the film, so what that tells me is not only did they dislike it, they actively dislike it. Now let me explain that for a minute. Like, you can passively dislike something, right? Like I don't like Harry Potter, so if I just sat down and watched like Harry Potter 4 and I didn't like it, it's like, okay, I just passively didn't like it. It's just not my thing. Now so I'd give it like a C, right? Yeah, it was a movie. Now, after seeing Joker 2, it pissed me off so bad, I would give it a D or an F. Why? Because it pissed me off. That's what I mean. Like, so this means the audience was pissed off at this movie. Because for those who also don't know, let's put into this context a little more. Madam Web got a C+, right? But most movies in the CinemaScore, because this is the tally that's done in certain big metropolitan areas when people are just coming out of the theater, so they'll take the survey right there and then, so they're fresh out of the theater. Most movies get in the A- range. You get a really good movie, it'll be an A+. You get a movie that's kind of mediocre to bad, that's when you start getting to the B+ or B+, B- range. Once you get into the C, D range, that means bad. Very fucking bad, right? So for those who may not understand how the CinemaScore works. So that's why when we hear that, like when I hear something's getting a B, I'm like, oh, that's not good. And you'll be like, but it's getting a B. It's like, yeah, but it's getting a B on the CinemaScore, which means that people aren't really liking it when they're coming out of the theater. They're not giving it an A. They're not giving it an A+. Because your first reaction out of the theaters, you're usually enthused, especially after you've seen the ending, because if they've done it right, the ending will send you out thinking you saw a better movie than you actually did. Do you guys get what I'm coming from here? Get where I'm coming from here?
Yes, I do.
Because then you start to think about the movie a little bit more and you're like, oh yeah, it was good, but it wasn't that good. Or it was better than you kind of thought it was because the ending didn't live up to the rest of the film. You'll have that sometimes too. But anyway, so yeah, this is just a big disaster for Warner Brothers all around.
To think they went from Barbie,
and I mean, there's another headline,
and Dune, and then straight right back to the bottom of the ground with Joker 2.
Well, and look at a lot of the hits they've had this year. A lot of the ones that were hits were movies that were sequels to films that were already well in development and on their way and were previously hits, like Dune 2, Kong and Godzilla, stuff like that. So, like, I mean, that I'm not as surprised. This surprises the piss out of me because I thought this movie would do a hell of a lot better than this just on pure curiosity factor. Like I said, you got the Lady Gaga factor in there. Yeah, I knew some fans would be turned off by the musical, but I didn't think the general audience would be turned off. But then again, we didn't find out till the Venice screening that this movie was basically just a fuck you to the fans. And here you go. Variety's headline says it all. Joker's fatal flaw is turning the fans into the villains of the sequel.
It's not even just that it's a fuck you to the fans. It's just so bad. It's just that, I mean, if it was even like a halfway good movie that was completely disrespectful, then you might get a little bit more of that, right? Some normies who don't care enough for some curiosity.
I kind of have a mixed feeling on that statement. Maybe I'm just misunderstanding it, but I feel like a divisive movie, which I think this was, is far worse than a bad movie because you're dividing and breaking up the audience. And no, you can never satisfy literally every person on the face of the earth. That's fine. But I feel like it's better to have something that people are either really enthused about or something that they weren't really wild about or even apathetic about. But when you have divisiveness, it gets, the situation we're dealing with now. And
I agree with you. Divisive is awful in this case.
Divisive is the worst.
But it's just like this is the worst of both worlds. It's divisive and it's bad.
Usually when it's
Okay.
divisive, it is bad. Most of the time, look at Ryan Johnson, look at those things. Usually when there's some wise ass thinking, oh, let me do something, I'm so clever, let me do something that's going to subvert everybody's expectations, and I don't even like the fans, and fuck everybody, then the movie at the end ends up being something that nobody likes. Yeah, okay, Last Jedi, there's a few weird activists at Lucasfilm that like it, and a few shills, but most people didn't like that movie, just like they didn't like this Joker movie.
Yep. Yeah.
I'm just astonished by how bad it is.
Yeah.
I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
It is, but also
Me
The Last
too.
Jedi is a bad movie. I mean,
It is, right? And I hate it as a fan, right? But
no,
there
no,
are,
not
like,
even as a fan. Let's pretend that we always thought that Luke Skywalker was a pussy, and now we watched The Last Jedi. It's still an objectively bad movie. If you try to pay attention, they're stuck in space in a traffic jam. I don't know. They don't have gas.
They're
It's
basically
like,
on a chase
Wow.
scene that's going the speed limit.
right,
Yeah.
right. It's the worst movie. It's a terrible,
the Mary Poppins
stupid,
moment.
awful movie. They have a whole
Trying so hard not to laugh at
I mean, they have a whole side quest with Finn in that because, nothing happens in that movie. It is just a piece of crap movie. Even if you remove the part of, let's pretend Luke Skywalker isn't in that movie, the movie is still a piece of shit. And then put him into it and what they did to his character, it's an even bigger piece of shit. And it's the same with the Joker. And in the same cases,
I mean-
you had some director that thought he was more clever than the studio, more clever than the fans, more clever than everybody. And at the end, he was just a jackass.
This is people mumbling about nothing for 2 hours.
Yeah.
That's
It is.
literally
It's a
it.
terrible movie.
I remember when I was told that Poe's supposed to be the baddest pilot in the galaxy, and I'm watching this movie, The Last Jedi, and I'm like, there's not one scene in this movie where he feels like this really standout, amazing pilot. He just feels like just another pilot. Just another guy who's cast in the movie. There's nothing about him that felt like. And then what did obviously added, insult to injury was when he was having that conversation with Purple Hair Lady. I'm like, what the hell is this bitch going on about?
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, we've just been sitting here and it hasn't been too hard for us to come up with 10 better scenarios for this movie than what we got. So that tells me without any doubt that he actively went out of his way, right? It's not like you don't have to try too hard to make a sequel to that movie and make it work and be satisfying to the fans. You don't. You have to basically go out of your way not to. And that's what we're seeing here. And I don't think there's any denying that anymore. And anybody who wants to try and run with one argument or another on this, or, whether or not you think I understand this movie or not, or we understand this movie or not, enough is enough. Because look, the fans have spoken. The general audience has spoken. The critics have even spoken. Like, this is one of those rare times in the recent years where the fans and the critics score has been almost even keel, right? Like, they're right in line with it. So I think the last I looked, the Rotten Tomatoes on the audience score was like 39 or 38, and the critic score was 33, I think. 34, somewhere in there. So, like, they're right, neck and neck. That's a rarity. So, and this is normally a movie that would be critic proof. But again, I brought this up, I think, on the morning show yesterday. This is one of those few times where a movie like this, where I have not seen all my normie friends tagging their friends in it, talking about going to see it. I saw that for Beetlejuice, right? I've seen that for a few other films that have done well lately. This I didn't. So I kind of was getting that inkling that, oh shit, this is not even going to do well. Like, that's where I'm more surprised with the normies. Because I thought at least they'd show up this weekend. That's why I thought this movie would do an $80 or so $1 million opening weekend. And the fact that it's done half of that is just alarming.
I said it on a previous show. I was waiting for them to start releasing a couple of songs to hype it up. You got Lady Gaga there. I'm not really a fan, but nevertheless, she's popular. If you have a great set piece, 3 or 4 minutes from the film, you make a clip video out of it and you release it. What they gave us instead was that mumble scene in the prison cell where they kiss. And that was the biggest red flag to me, because it's like, if you have actually good music in this movie, then you want to promote it. And
well, the other half of
hyped
that problem is people talk about Oscars, and that's why I keep saying this movie might win some, costume awards and a few other minor things, but it's not going to win anything for the music because they didn't write an original song. And that's the thing that I was scratching my head months ago about. It's like, I can't believe this. You're just going to make this a jukebox musical. And even then, I wasn't expecting it to be old ass show tunes. Right, I was expecting it to be like more modern films or punk songs from that era or something.
It wasn't even good at that. There were no set pieces with it. They kind of walked through hallways mumbling the show tune for
the Joker song was an all right set piece. I thought that
I liked that. That was okay.
That was the one's a little bit more in line with what I thought they were going to do, though. CC, right? Like that was
you
know what I mean?
You put 10 or 12 of those in the movie, and you might have something. But that was like the one case where they actually did a complete song with actual choreography. A lot of the time, they're just walking down hallways, mumbling the song for 30 seconds, and then that's it. There's nothing there.
Got us an update here, because, so it's gone down with the audience since the last time I looked, but the critics' score has stayed pretty much, of course, the critics were already chimed in a while back. So 33 to 31 now. Yikes.
You know what it reminded me of was just modern-day streaming padding in a movie form, because they spent a ton of time walking down hallways.
They didn't have
slowly.
Yeah. We wrote a bunch of shit right now and just sitting here going in a roundabout way. Like, and I came to that whole like, oh, what if he took the whole fucking court, hostage and put the city on trial? Now that's a movie. You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck? Like, how hard is it to come up with something here that you don't even have to? You could still even do something in the line of what he's trying to say. Like, we all get it. We all got that from the first movie. We knew Arthur Fleck was a nobody. He was a loser. The system shuffled, right? Like that. You didn't need to make a whole movie again to tell us that. Because so clearly you're just doing it just to tell us, fuck you.
I agree with Cece and what you guys said.
Yeah.
First of all, it's not that I'm Lady Gaga's biggest fan, but I will say she can write hits. This is sort of up her alley. You give her to write some songs for a movie like this. Let's say she would have really gone all in and written the catchiest tunes that at least her fans of music would enjoy. Then at least maybe you have a crowd of ladies that probably don't know otherwise what they're even doing watching this movie. But let's say they go watch it and they listen to her, catchy tunes. Maybe you could capture some audience, but they didn't even do that. They're like, let's do just, and even the annoying show tunes they chose weren't performed that well. None of this really sounded that great.
And a good portion were ones that have been done to death already, or nobody's ever fucking heard. And 6, you know what? This is something I've said before myself, and I agree wholeheartedly. Like a movie or a book or a show can be really bad for like the first 2 or 3 acts, or the first 2 acts, and then that third act really kind of elevate it, and you could make, and then in the end make it a better book, movie, or show. But if you have a really great first 2 acts and a shit ass third act, that could destroy the whole goddamn thing too.
This one didn't have any good act.
The sad part about it is that one of the best parts of the movie is the ending, but it doesn't save nothing. It's just because, oh, good, it's over, and we're most likely not going to get another one. But now there is mumblings that there were talks for a while now about a third film that Phillips wouldn't even have overseen. But I wonder if that's even going to happen now.
And look, I'll give you that. The first 10 or 15 minutes of the movie when he's in the prison and he's silent and he's not saying anything, I was like, okay. I'm interested. What's he thinking? What's he holding back? I was kind of like at a 7 out of 10 in my mind for the first few scenes of the movie. It was still a bad movie, and I thought less of it as it went along. But if it had ended well, if the moment where he fired the lawyer just kind of fired everything up into a completely different movie, I would have at least understood that juxtaposition between the Arthur Fleck and the Joker character. If they'd followed up on that, I would have thought much more highly of the end result, despite its flaws, right?
Yeah.
And it never happened.
Indeed. So let's see what you guys are talking about out there. And then we can move on from this subject. We got some other things to chit-chat about. BA sends in $4.99. Thank you for that. It says, I had a good copy of Joker 2, and you guys just sealed the deal. I'm just going to watch Tulsa King Season 2.
I need to watch that. I hear that.
It's great. It's great.
I'm watching it now. Well,
like
not
this
right
minute?
this moment. No, but I am currently in the process of watching it.
Yeah, I just finished every Sunday night I've been keeping up. Oh man, it's one of those shows. It's like old classic television where it's like when the show ends, I'm like, no, I want more. It's like, that's what I miss.
Yeah, it's good.
Wow. Is it as good as the first season? Not yet, but it's still pretty good.
No, I feel like the first
give it
season.
time. Give it time
Yeah.
before you make that. It's
I'm
still
giving
too
it
early
time,
to
but I
make
will
that
say
type
the
of
first
judgment.
season was better until now. I'm not suffering watching the second, but the first one was just a
It's
home
starting
run.
to pop off a little bit now too, though. So now you can see where this season's going to start cooking into the second half here. So I think it's only what, 8 episodes or 10.
I hope it's 10, but it's
I
probably
can't
8.
remember what was the first
I'd
season.
say do whatever's best for
First
the
was
show.
9.
It feels like 10
Was it 9?
episodes
Yeah.
necessary. I mean, there should not
They're
be a
usually the
requirement
same
for
amount.
episodes.
They're like 9 episodes if it was 9 episodes the first season, probably. Kalekioki sends in 5 and says the director's intent was making a deliberately awful movie. Sorry, he made sure there wasn't going to be a third. Hopefully, this movie destroys his cred. Well, it didn't need a third, even if it was a good movie, because you could have still ended the film the way it ends and done a bunch of other cool shit with it, right? Like I already kind of figured that was going to be the ending. A lot of people thought it was going to be Harley who did it. And then that's another
I was
weird
thinking
thing.
that too when it happened.
And then
I was
there's
like,
another
okay,
thing, and
it's
I was
not.
thinking too when Arthur gets out there and he goes up to the apartment building where she's supposed to be at, and she meets him on the stairs or whatever. I thought he was going to end up going up in the apartment and finding her dead. Because remember, just before that, she had the gun to her head. So I thought that was going to be the final thing to send him down the fully destructive path. But then again, there's another opportunity missed in the film.
But you know why they didn't take those opportunities, right? It's because they wanted to put him down, and they needed her to do that.
There's a rumor now, CC, that there is a version of that in one of the cuts of the film, because there's a bunch of shit, I guess, of Lady Gaga's that got chopped out. That's what Grace Randolph was griping about.
She wasn't bad in the movie. You're paying her all that money. Use her.
I guess there was a few things in the trailer to support that, and there's some other
things.
Yeah,
there's a shot that she's in an elevator. There's a few different scenes that you see in the trailer, but then when you watch the movie, they're not there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And somebody was saying that there was an alternate version where that's exactly what happens as he comes up and she's done that. Yeah.
I actually think that would have been cooler. Like
would have been affecting a little bit. It's like he laid down and gave up, and that's what
this wasn't. I wouldn't say that it's a necessary sequel, but if you wanted to do one, it was like a rather easy layup. It was a rather easy layup that
that's
you make
what I was
movie.
saying before. Yeah.
You make a movie that maybe critics or maybe people won't think that it's the best thing they've ever seen. Good enough, though, and will bring the numbers. Sometimes, I mean, Deadpool 3 had a lot of things I liked in it, but it wasn't better than Deadpool 1. But I still went to see it, and it still made a lot of money. There's still a way to make this, Joker 2 movie in a way that's interesting and sort of rewarding for fans. And it doesn't have to be the best movie, and he could have done it, and he's just an asshole.
Well, this is why I say if you're really going to put down the character, which I don't agree with, but if you're really going to do it, at least make that compelling.
And 6 says there was 3 endings filmed, and I'd believe her because she's read a lot more articles on this than I have at this point, probably. So,
He's always been overrated. The truth is, Todd Phillips has always been overrated. He has never really, we've talked about this before, you and I, Tom. He's never really thought of any original idea on his own anyways. At best, he can sort of do homages or be influenced by other movies that probably did something better and do something that's serviceable enough. Got really lucky with that Joker movie. I would argue that to an extent, maybe he even got a bit lucky with that Hangover movie, but at least, it was enjoyable enough, and the first Joker was enjoyable enough. I've never considered Todd Phillips, the upper echelon of directors. I've considered him just a decent director, and I think that this is a good case to show why maybe he shouldn't be directing movies.
This isn't even...
Or just give him to small indies with like $3 million, where he could just, film his nostrils or something for an hour and just leave us all alone.
Because this isn't even dime store clever. See, I think that's the problem, is that a lot of people have made him think that he's a lot more... He's like the opposite of Arthur Fleck. A lot more people have made him think that he's a lot more clever than he really is. Because I'm sitting here back here looking like you could have even been dime store clever with this movie, right? Like, let's look at Harley Quinn for a moment. If you really want to break her down, Sure, okay, from here on out, Arthur Fleck and Harley are the basis for whoever picks up the mantle from here. Like every one of every Joker's right hand woman's going to be a Harley Quinn. Okay, I can see that, right? That makes sense. You've made her popular enough within his mythos, within the world. It works. Okay, fine. You could even played into her whole romantic side, like we were saying before, with her being so soaked up into musicals and stuff. You could even played with the idea that her name was Lee Quinzel or whatever, and had her be like really into Harlequin novels, right? And you could really, that's even dime store clever. That's my example of dime store clever. You know what I'm saying? Because he's got some elements of dime store clever in here, like the knock knock, who's there, Arthur Fleck who. That's what I call dime store clever. That's where like your first level writing, right? It's like, okay, yeah, that's clever, but I think we can do better, right? There's other ways we can do that without it being so.
Maybe he was blinded by all
nose.
those Oscars. He saw that Joaquin won an Oscar. People were like toasting in his honor. Maybe for a second he put himself in the wrong category. He thought he was some big auteur. People in the chat were mentioning that they liked Old School and they liked Road Trip. First of all, Old School, without the cast, without people, the kind of cast that's there at the peak of their capabilities, that movie wouldn't have worked as well. But let's just say, okay, he made a funny kind of screwball movie. It's fine. Road Trip also. Here he was thinking that he's this artsy fartsy guy, and I think that's the problem. He can do maybe 20 years ago, he could do like a Road Trip or a Old School, whatever it was.
I didn't even think The Hangover was that clever. Because like I said, right. It was just a rip-off, basically.
It was all right. I thought I enjoyed it, but it's not like I sit around all day thinking about The Hangover. I think, again, he also got lucky there that he had Bradley Cooper, who wasn't yet known. He had Zach Galifianakis, who at least did a pretty decent, quirky performance. Honestly, he's kind of a one-trick pony after you see that movie.
Well, and Old School is really Vince Vaughn and Will Ferrell.
Will Ferrell. Will Ferrell is the MVP.
Yeah.
Will Ferrell is the MVP. And at the time, people didn't know what an MVP Will Ferrell was. And he was the MVP of that movie, really
and now
elevating
he's like
it
trans adjacent
to another like level of comedy. And once you have like Will Ferrell, peak Will Ferrell on your cast, and not to mention that Vaughn was pretty good too, that's a situation where
that was also peak Vaughn. Yeah.
Very, very lucky. He was lucky also, Todd Phillips, with these things. But again, maybe he's suitable for screwball comedies. Here, he wasn't going for a screwball Joker. He was going for, I'm Mr. Oscar, artsy fartsy, and I have all these thoughts and ideas.
He pulled what's his face, Green, and the other comedian guy they did with Halloween and Exorcist. They think they're a lot more clever than they really are. David Gordon Green, Danny McBride. Yeah, Danny McBride and David Gordon Green. Same thing, right? Two comedy guys jumping into a completely different genre, thinking they're so clever just because the first movie was okay. And I'd rip that sumbitch apart. I don't know if you were listening around that period, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about the first Halloween movie they made?
Yeah, the 2018 one, yeah.
It was all right. I didn't watch it and think that it was the best thing I've ever seen. I thought that maybe if I compared it to a few of the sequels that I'd seen over the years, I thought it was a little better, but it's not like I sat around thinking that it's better than the first one. I still will tell you that first one still eats that David Gordon Green one for breakfast.
Well, even H2O did, in my opinion.
I'm trying to remember H2O now. It's all kind of a blur to me because they kept rebooting it. So I'm like thinking,
well, Halloween H2O worked because it was exactly what the trailer promised it was going to be in that last 20 minutes of the movie.
Busta Rhymes in it or something?
No, that one had LL Cool J in it. It's the guard.
All right,
Busta Rhymes was the resurrection one. That was the one after that.
Trick or treat.
H2O is the one with
Resurrection.
With
Ludacris had
Josh Hartnett, Jamie Lee Curtis, and she's the teacher at the school. She's changed her name, and Michael shows up 20 years later.
But was Busta Rhymes in a movie, or I'm crazy?
He was.
No, you're right. He's in
the one after that, like I just said.
Resurrection.
Yeah. Okay.
2000.
Yeah, he's like trick or treat, motherfucker.
Yeah, that was in all the trailers for that movie. That's what they were leading with. So
no, H2O, what was in every trailer was Jamie Lee Curtis holding onto an axe, screaming, "Michael!" That was what sold that fucking movie. It was like, she's going after his ass. Yeah, that's what I want to see. H2O, that fucking movie was like a rock concert in the theater. I saw that opening fucking day, and that fucking was packed. And when she screamed, Michael, with that fucking axe in her hand, and that theme started. Everybody just got up and screamed. Like that was like for the next 20 minutes, it was like a rock concert. Everybody's just like, yeah, woo. And she's like going, they're just back and forth through the fucking hallways and in the fucking dormitory thing and the cafeteria and shit. I mean, that's one of the best endings to a Halloween movie ever, because they just gave the fans exactly what they want. Like, those two going at it, and then she chops his fucking head off. Right? Like it's like there ain't no coming back, and then he comes back. It's like that was where, the only problem with H2O was the fucking mask, and that was Weinstein's fault, because they couldn't decide on which mask they wanted to use, and they kept making them reshoot it and everything else. So there's like 3 or 4 different masks in the movie. But other than that, that is one of the to me, the Halloween trilogy is Halloween, Halloween 2, and H2O. Other than that, they're all just also rans.
Okay.
Halloween 3 is its own thing. The Rob Zombie movies can go fuck themselves.
Dude. How did he go from the Devil's
Halloween
Rejects
Kills
to
is
that?
the only one of the new 3 movies that I liked, and everybody fucking hated that one. And I'm like, why? This movie is exactly like every other Halloween sequel. And you got Michael just going ape shit on everybody. Just
Is that the second one out of the 3?
Yeah, and I get it. It's not a great film, but
the first and second
in a
one,
cheesy way, I liked it. Yeah, but Halloween Ends was an insult to the fans. Yeah,
I think that the first one and second one were, you may like them, you may not like them, but they were somewhat serviceable. Whereas the third one kind of, I think I never even finished it. It seemed to go off a cliff, and I didn't quite know what I was watching, and I think I fell asleep and never went back to watch the end.
That's the trash one where the kid starts killing people and Michael's in the fucking sewer and shit through most of the movie. Yeah, Halloween Ends.
Oh, now God, it's coming back to me. It's coming back to me. This crap. Yes,
okay,
yes.
I haven't seen H2O in a long time, but why was it titled that? Like, does Michael Myers
20 years later?
Breaks?
I know, yeah. Everybody makes the jokes because it was called Halloween 20 years later. It was at that time period when you had like Independence Day as ID4.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So everything had
20.
H2O. Right. So there was a lot of movies with T2 started that actually. T2 was the first one to do that.
T2 always made sense. To me, that always resonated.
ID4 never made sense to me. It's like, what the fuck?
People were getting, a few people were saying in the chat that maybe we're being hard on Todd Phillips, and I'm not being hard on him. I'm saying he's okay for certain types of movies.
Motherfuckers made like 3 good movies.
Right, he's okay for goofy whatever movies. I don't think that he's an auteur. I think that this is the problem, that somebody accidentally thought that he's an auteur, that he's some fancy director, and he's just not. If you have a low budget comedy that's screwball and has some good actors in it, he could probably, I don't even know if today he could pull it off, but let's say with the right mindset 10, 20 years ago, he could deliver those, a few of them. Right now, I don't consider him some fancy director. And if I had a studio,
need to be either. That's the thing, Bryce. He just needs to be a director who could get a fun, engaging movie. The thing is, he thought he could make a sophisticated movie. And now,
he punched above his belt. He punched above his belt. If I'm a studio head, I don't care which studio head, and he walks into my office and said, "Hey, I have an idea. Give me $200 million. I'm going to throw him out, and I'm not even going to validate his parking. He can go pay for his own fucking parking."
He's a follower. If you look at the movies, I like Road Trip. It was a really great. I really think it was an awesome movie, but in that case, you're right. He had a cast at the peak of their game who was able to just come together and produce a great sort of screwball energy, and that's fine. Maybe he's capable of that, but he's always followed the trends, and he's following with this movie too, because Joker 2 is following the Hollywood woke beta ass weak man trend, and he wanted to go in there and be an auteur with that, and this is what he got.
Yeah.
Good luck.
And then Patrick Robinson says, was Todd Phillips pulling a John Carpenter? He made a bad movie on purpose so they wouldn't ask him for another similar thing. Is that what he says with Escape from LA? I have never heard him say that. Because I always thought he wanted to make a third film, Escape from Earth. But my understanding was, and somebody please correct me if I'm wrong, he'd always expected to make Escape from LA a straight up sequel. But the studio at the time, since it had been so many years since the first film, and the first film was more of a cult hit than an actual hit, they kind of made him pull like a like kind of a remake within the first film, or within the second film, kind of like Evil Dead kind of thing, to kind of set things back up again. But I could be wrong, because I always thought he was going to do Escape from Earth part in the third film, and that's kind of where Escape from LA sets that up, because he turns the Earth off with that. Yeah.
Seriously,
the end of Escape from LA is fucking awesome, right? Like, it's like sets everything up for a better movie than when we definitely got there. That's for sure. Because Escape from LA is just Escape from New York all over again.
Oh, of course.
I'll defend Ghost of Mars.
I do enjoy it. I'll admit, I absolutely do enjoy it.
Yeah, I was gonna say most people gripe more about the effects and just. Yeah, it was just like too many years after the first film. You were saying, CC?
I've seen Ghosts of Mars several times. I will defend that. I kind of fell off of him after that movie, but I did enjoy it.
Well, yeah, that was his last semi-decent film, but his last good movie, in my opinion, was Vampires.
That's fair.
I like Starman.
That was peak fucking Carpenter Price. Like, yeah.
Okay. I like that in The Thing and Halloween.
It's funny because Starman, I think, is his highest grossing film, if I'm not mistaken.
There's something about it that it has a certain charm to it that I like.
Maybe Halloween is still, but yeah, go ahead.
I mean, Halloween is probably my favorite, but I like Starman. I don't know why I like it. It seems like I wouldn't like that movie, and I like it.
Oh,
and
it's
I don't
a great
know why.
Fucking flick. And it's basically Carpenter making a studio picture, which is weird, but yeah,
it's cool.
And actually Jeff Bridges got nominated for it, and yeah, they even had a whole season of a TV show afterwards.
But it was like one of those phony TV shows where none of the actors appear, right?
Yeah, but I forgot that they actually set it up why they look different. And actually, I think it has like one actor, I think, from the movie, but I can't remember. Probably I got the whole thing. I just haven't watched it yet. It's
probably the only actor that appears was like 1 second in a gas station or something.
I was going to say, I thought it was the one, what's his face? I thought it was Charles Martin Smith, I think, might be in it, but I could be wrong.
Well, he gave her a son, and they could have said the son looks different. I don't even remember.
Well, the son is still young, so like the series picks up, I think, like a year or two after the movie, or a couple, like 5 years, I think, after the movie, and their son has grown faster than a normal human being, right? So like he's only supposed to be like 5, but he's already like 15. So then Jeff Bridges comes back, but he takes the form of another person, so that's why he looks different.
I remember now.
Yes, so like that's where they explain that. So it is technically the same character-ish, right? Like, so it's like, okay, at least they explained why he looks different. They just didn't try to pretend.
I think that as a kid, I tried to watch this series that you speak of, and I didn't buy it. I said to myself, I don't buy this.
It only lasted a season. But when they did the Columbia box set here recently, because they got the 4K of Starman in there, they actually remastered the whole series on
season. But I'm saying HD, I didn't even.
Yeah.
I think I watched one episode. I saw what they were up to, and I said, I don't believe them. Like I don't like it usually when I have a cast of characters that I like, and then I watch something else and they didn't bring those cast of characters, and they're trying to do a bunch of workarounds. I smell a rat. Which is
a TV show like that, what are you gonna do? Right. I mean,
don't make it.
Well, I agree with you, and I just said this the other day to Paul Chatto. I said, here's a video for you. I'm like, of the hundreds of times or thousands actually, probably more so, of times they've tried to make a TV show out of a movie, the only dozen times that it's worked, there's a video for you, because we've had how many like Ferris Bueller's and Starman would be an example of that.
The only good Ferris Bueller
you got
TV
MASH
show,
and a few other ones that actually did manage to do
the only good Ferris Bueller TV show was Parker Lewis Can't Lose, and that was just, it seemed he was kind of like Ferris Bueller, but he was his own thing.
Oh yeah.
That was a pretty good show.
I'm looking forward to the Harry Potter TV series, because they cut the vast majority of the books out of the movies, right? So they actually have material that they can go back to and
if you do it as a series, then you don't have to cut it down. Exactly. Yeah. You can do it.
And frankly, also the concept. They're kids in a school. You have the whole school year to deal with. You want to expand upon it, and you have J.K. Rowling involved, go for it.
What I've heard is they're casting all British kids. Each year will be a year of the book. So each season will be one of the books, basically. They're going to plan it out that way so the kids age right along with the books or the stories. So that's what I've heard. I don't know.
I mean, I hope it's good, but at least you have a concept there that can work. better,
Right.
maybe
That
as a
actually
TV
makes
series,
sense.
right?
Well, I heard the big thing is that J.K. Rowling is insisting they shoot it in England and all this other shit too. So yeah. So we'll see how that
Good.
turns out. But we got Neil who says, never thought I'd see Venom 3 possibly doing better than Joker. Well, he meant Joker 2. He said that. Also, Gunn and Warner Brothers should be fearful. 7 bombs factoring this film. Yikes. Okay, so thing one, Neil, I don't know if you're on X or not, but I did post this the other day after I watched Joker. I said, right, and I noticed how bad that the box office was and the reaction to it was. I said, isn't it crazy we kind of theoretically live in a world where Venom 3 could be a bigger hit and a better movie than Joker 2, right? And then yeah, as far as the 7 bombs going into this is not good for DC in any way, shape, or form. No, because I think this is also a sign, and I've been saying this, and I don't know if too many people really agree with me, but I do think it's a sign that the audience is kind of turning away from comic book movies, or at least they're not going to trust them unless like Hugh Jackman's involved or Ryan Reynolds. Like, or they get enough good word of mouth that it's a decent, like, look at Penguin is a great example. Started out okay, got really good word of mouth. It's been doing a lot better. Good for them. I'm not going to,
It has maintained greatness too. It hasn't lost its momentum. And I say as someone who can't stand the Batman. I think the thing is, Tom, I think you're right. With the properties of Marvel, DC, and pretty much anything, even outside the big two, we're past the days where if it's a character from a comic book here that's a superhero, you don't right away get the benefit of the doubt. You have to either A, come from a really established team, or be a really big character like a Spider-Man or Superman or the X-Men, or you're at to have a slow burn, start small and hopefully you can maintain some legs a la Guardians 3, because it's gone are the days where a movie with the most minuscule, obscure character can open big and maintain big. That's clear that type of stuff is absolutely gone. And Venom 3, of course, had 2 sequels. Sorry, a first and second movie that, even though I wasn't into them, there were people who liked them, especially overseas. Oh, those movies are the new Transformers overseas. So I could see why this has people going for that third movie. Clearly, there's an investment there. And also, those movies did start off smaller. Now they have risen up. So, yeah, I can see why Venom 3 might do okay.
well, people like Tom Hardy, but I'm not so sure it's going to even do well. I do think we're at the tail end of this thing. And we're at that point, like 96, 97, when you're starting to get shit like Venom and Judge Dredd, and everybody's like totally rejecting like post Batman films, right? We're in that era. So like I was saying, like I could be, we could turn right around and next summer Superman could get everybody right back into the superhero craze again. I could be wrong.
I could see
but
Superman
I think we're
doing
in
well,
a little bit,
but I don't think it'll get people into the craze, because I think Superman doing good is just an outlier. I feel like it's just,
I don't think it's going to open real big. I think it's going to take.
I don't think so either.
It's going to take people time to register whether or not it's good. I think they're going to wait for people like us to see it first.
It might have a chance at having legs if it's good. Because
that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Like once again, another movie directed by Gunn was Guardians 3. It didn't open up as well as 2, and if you adjust for inflation, technically smaller than 1. And it did maintain really good legs throughout. Sure, it wasn't overall successful as the other movies, but it still started off smaller and had a bit of a bigger amount of decline. It still finished strong. So if Gunn can do that, but even if he does that, of course a Superman movie should be done right. He's one of the most important characters in all of American history and just history, period. Like a Superman movie should be a thing that should be talked about. But I don't think we're in a day and age where just any character can just now get away with having a movie. And
I think that trailer,
gangbusters. I think those days are gone.
I think the trailer is going to say a lot. Like when we see that trailer, people's reaction to the trailer is going to say a lot. Action Com says if Taken 2 can get a sequel, well, yeah. Then Action Com says with another 2, anything memeable from Joker? Just him getting butt raped, I guess. That's been the only. That's been the only meme I've seen. Really, is yeah, this one making the round. If that's what you mean. And then we got Beat Bop Boop sending in 5. Thank you, or $4.99. Sorry. Whoops, or pound $4.99. If I can get my shit straight. It says Ghost of Mars was escaped to Earth, but he removed Snake Plissken because Kurt Russell didn't come back. Also, Tom, are you a fan of Halloween 4? Loomis. Well, I didn't know that about Ghost of Mars. I'd have to look into that. I did not know that. Halloween 4 is okay. The problem with Halloween 4 is Halloween 5 and 6. Because, yeah, I mean, Halloween 4 had an okay start to kind of setting things back into that world, but Halloween 5 is so fucking bad. So bad. And then Halloween 6 being his last film. You know, it's just kind of cool to have them, but to me, my main trilogy is the ones I said earlier. But yeah. But somebody who just can't stay out of the news is Mr. Paul Feig. Just got to gripe about something. I thought it'd be fun to shit on Paul Feig for a minute or two. Because he says he responds harsh to Jackpot Review, says critics took biggest dump on this movie. The Amazon comedy debuted this summer with leads John Cena and Awkwafina. That rhymes.
I think Awkwafina in a movie is already like probably a good chance that you'll lose some points.
Yeah. Well, he is trying to gain some points back because that's actually just kind of a side story. The real story is he's got Sydney Sweeney in his upcoming movie Housemaid.
I don't think she should make any movies with him. She should have chosen a different project.
Yeah,
I mean, if you want the lesbian action.
Yeah, I don't know here. He got lucky with snagging her for a movie. So yeah, Lionsgate has closed the deal with Sydney Sweeney and is in final negotiations with Amanda Seyfried to star in Hidden Pictures thriller The Housemaid, with studio tapping Paul Feig to direct. The screenplay by Rebecca Sonnenschein, based on the best-selling novel by Frida McFadden. Hidden Pictures, Todd Lieberman will produce blah, 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 blah. Film will star Sweeney and will play Millie, a struggling woman who is relieved to get a fresh start as a housemaid to Nina Seyfried and Andrew, an upscale wealthy couple. She soon learns that the family secrets are far more dangerous than her own. I'm thrilled to have... So is this a thriller or what is this? Yes, Sadie, I know. Yeah. Just a minute. So does anybody know anything about this shit?
News to me.
Well, it looks like it's a pretty big bestseller for 75 weeks and counting.
Well, I mean, what year did that type of book come out? Because if we're talking the last 10 years, that's not saying much, since everything nowadays is a New York Times bestseller. So
I guess it ended up number 2 as the most read Kindle for the 10th anniversary. Most read title on Kindle behind the Harry Potter series.
Oh, okay. Well, that's big. If that's the case, and yeah, that's kind of a huge...
But it still doesn't say if it's like a comedy or a thriller or... Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But evidently this Jackpot movie was a success.
Jackpot.
So yeah, does anybody know anything about this in the chat? Yeah, even Sadie is ticked off.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, this franchise, this Housemaid, is it a comedy? Is it a thriller? What is it? Why is Paul Feig making it? And I gotta let Sadie out because she is being annoying as piss. I'll be right back, guys. Keep talking.
We'll keep chatting. Yeah, if it's Paul Feig is involved, I mean, that's probably gonna just be, a Paul Feig
he's
movie.
A bitter guy. I don't like his attitude.
And he still hasn't let it go. Like, I'd straight up like, all right, dude's moved on. I should move on too. But this guy will not let it go.
I'm going to tell you something. I have a secret to tell you, that there was something I was involved in, even during the time that you've known me, where somebody got involved and did something that wasn't nice to kind of, I don't want to say sabotage, but kind of ruin something that I was doing. And I could have sat around and talked about it all day and all night, said who that person is and what they did and all this stuff. And until this moment, I've never brought it up, and I won't bring it up again. Sometimes you don't gain anything by sitting around and whining about stuff. Sometimes doing something and succeeding at it is also putting up with maybe a person that you don't love, or a situation that you don't love. And sometimes you also get unlucky, and you have to recognize that happens sometimes too. And instead of manning up, this Paul Feig, ever since he released that crappy Ghostbuster movie, is whining all day and all night. Get over it. Just shut up and make a movie that's not shit, and maybe somebody will have something good to say about you. Otherwise, just be quiet, because nobody gives a shit.
Yeah, straight up. Why, you want? At what point do you say, you know what? I'm done with this. It's time to have a fresh slate. Maybe I'll do something else, and then maybe I can either A, gain another audience, B, maybe people from that other movie will see this as a redemption arc for me. Instead, no, he's just stuck in 2016 in his TDS echo chamber.
Yeah. And speaking of griping and pissing and moaning, I don't know if you guys saw this. Star Wars, the acolyte Jodie Turner-Smith calls out Disney for not protecting cast and denouncing racism. It's not fair to not say anything.
It's just
I think that if her agent and her manager knew what was good for her, they tell her to shut up and not say anything. Because a show that cost $230 million to make, that nobody wanted to watch, and was considered a colossal failure on every single level, there's really nothing to talk about. Sometimes it's the same thing what I just said about Paul Feig. Apply it to Jodie Turner-Smith. You were in a flop. You weren't especially good in the flop either. Even in interviews, you were annoying. And now it's best to just shut up, go make a movie that's good, and maybe somebody will say, well, you know what? She wasn't good in Acolyte, but she's good in this other thing. But otherwise, just shut up.
Yeah. Pull a Sydney Sweeney. Have fun with it. Roll with the punches. Move on to the next thing.
Right. Nobody likes a sour whatever. I don't know what word I'm looking for. I'm not saying, I've complained before, and it's okay if something bad happens, you can complain about it. But the level of mental gymnastics these people are doing at this point to try to explain this failure is just pathetic. And that's what she looks like. She looks pathetic to me.
Yeah. And
I don't know what's wrong with me today. I guess everybody's annoying me. I don't remember. Sorry, guys. I'm not in a good mood. I have
Jodie
no idea why.
Turner-Smith is calling out Disney for not having a stronger response against cyberbullying. What's cyberbullying? Star Wars: The Acolyte star, man. This is
stupid.
Where's the proof? Where's the fucking proof? Yes, lady. Is that your cyberbullying? That you became a fucking meme? Yes. That's all I know about this broad.
You know what she did? She played Queen. Was it what was it? Anne Boleyn or something? They made a show like the BBC or one of those British companies where she was Anne Boleyn, and everybody hated it because she obviously doesn't look like Anne Boleyn. So then she got upset because instead that they were ists and phobes because they didn't think she looked like Anne Boleyn. And if you open up any kind of history book, you'll see that she doesn't look anything like Anne Boleyn.
Well, first of all, wasn't Anne Boleyn white?
Well, that's why she doesn't look like her. They made a show. I am not kidding. They made a series on one of those BBC things about Anne Boleyn, and they cast Jodie Turner-Smith. And then every episode, she was upset that people didn't like the show. Nobody believed she was Anne Boleyn. I mean, let's be realistic here. Anne Boleyn, like you said, she was white, and this actress is black, and people just thought that it wasn't historically accurate.
Well,
and they didn't want to watch it. She got offended.
Historically accurate, or were they trying to do like a Hamilton thing? Because again, I will like allow that. Like
in Hamilton, they were rapping and doing a bunch of crap.
Exactly. Like
no, this wasn't
what's that other one? The one show we were talking about the other day that women love and I don't even understand was on that toxic.
It was none of those things. This was something that I think she seriously acted as though she's Anne Boleyn, and she didn't know why people didn't like it. And then of course you saw those articles like you're just ist and phobes that you don't think that she's Anne Boleyn. I mean, I didn't watch the show. I don't care. I just know that she doesn't look like Anne Boleyn to me. And even if you thought that it had a Bridgerton vibe, which I don't believe it did, I still wouldn't believe it, and I still wouldn't watch it. I also don't watch Bridgerton, but that's also because I'm a dude, and people who are men don't watch Bridgerton because there's other shit to watch that's not like crap like Bridgerton.
Well, there may be reasons to watch Bridgerton.
Even if there's a woman, and okay. if maybe under special circumstances, if you have like a lady friend, you have to watch that crap. Maybe, but even then, I'm sure like you try to
He knows
negotiate
how to get
your way out
laid.
of it.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah. So let's see what she says here about no support from Disney, which is clearly bullshit anyway, because they're the ones who put the shit in her brain. In a new interview, she told these peoples that let's see here, where was I? In a new interview, Turner Smith, who played Mother Anesia, am I saying that right? In the Disney Plus series, slammed the studio for not protecting Stenberg. Oh, so it's not even about her; it's about Stenberg. When again was Yes, that was my head hitting the mic.
It's the same song and dance with these people over and over. This is we're seeing the Duracell battery, but in Hollywood version. Going and going and going and going. No one stops to think, man, how many times have we said this stuff? At what point people are not going to believe anything we say when this is all that we got?
Yeah. Anyway, so she says she put so much care and thought and love into their character and felt disappointed that the studio didn't have their back and they faced backlash from Star Wars fans. The show did. She didn't get any backlash until she came out with a "We ain't gonna fuck with your dick going, fuck with your dick going." One of the worst rap songs I've ever heard.
Oh
since
yeah,
Puff
the
Daddy.
discourse that she said she wouldn't mess with until she did.
Exactly, that she created.
Yep.
They got to stop doing this thing, and they don't say anything when people are getting fucking dogpiled on the internet with racist bullshit or racism and bullshit. Turner Smith said, "It's just not fair, not say anything. It's really unfair." What are you supposed to do, you dumb broad? They do everything that you're saying. They already come out and condemn the fuck out of us. Anyway, she continued and said, it would just be nice if the people that have all the money were showing their support and putting their feet down. Say this is unacceptable. They do. You're not a fan of if you do this. They did. Did they not remember the Ewan McGregor video? Make a really big statement and see if any money leaves. Well, the money has left, you dumb bitch. The British star, who also cast in Disney's Tron Ares, oh goody, is sure making a statement against racism wouldn't have a negative impact because people of color, and especially black people, make up a very large percentage of buying power. They might find that it's actually more lucrative for them. Oh, she's feeding in the same motherfucking same bullshit as every... Fuck you. Just fuck you and your stupid fucking DEI bullshit ass. Fuck off.
I see she managed to annoy you more than even she annoyed me, Tom.
Just shut the fuck up, you stupid activist. That's the best I can say besides cunt. Stenberg described her attacks as hyper-conservative bigotry. We saw the video. Anyway, fuck this bitch. And fuck Star Wars and the horse it rode in on, or the tauntaun it rode in on, I should say. What do you guys have to say to that you haven't said already?
Well, I've said this already, but the best thing Disney ever did for Star Wars was to isolate the EU from their shitty influence. It's still completely unsullied by anything they've done.
Yeah. I'm not really mad so much, Keto, as I am just pissed off at what they keep saying and doing to people who actually aren't doing this. Right? And they just want good Star Wars. I used to be one of those people. I just don't give a fuck anymore. They have pushed me to the point where I don't care. In fact, I say keep doing it. Keep putting out horrendous shit like The Acolyte. Like I keep saying, buy Gary at Nerdrotica Boat. Right? Help me pay my fucking rent. Think I give a fuck? You think this is a grift? Okay, you know, the grift is you guys coming in and taking over all our franchises, as we've pointed out many times before. But anyway,
I'm glass half full on this one. If they faithfully adapt the EU without bringing all their bullshit universe into it. I think they'll still make $1 billion, and I'm totally here for it. People should absolutely support that, and I think they will. Not saying it'll happen, but you know,
like Dr. Coffin said, I hope they make the Ray trilogy. Fuck them. You deserve what you fucking get.
It would be fun. It would be fun to see that make maybe $150 million if they're lucky.
Oh God, even half that, I'd be even laughing even more. Deeble 101's in the house and sends in 2 and says, "I thought the acolyte died. Who's doing necromancy?" Well, that's the thing. They can't. They won't let
Disney
it die.
Lucasfilm. Disney Lucasfilm is. They put the corpse in the grave and now they're digging it back up. They're the ones who are doing the exhuming.
Yeah. And thank you for the support, Deeple. And thank you all for the support. I think that we've pretty much covered everything we're going to cover today. We did lose an actor real quick. Let's bring that up. Six brought this to my attention. Thank you.
The Dragon Ball Z guy?
Is he in Dragon Ball Z? I don't know. This is, I don't know what a Dragon Ball Z is.
We've lost so many people. It's like, I don't know.
We lost a character actor, Nicholas Pryor, most well known for Risky Business, Beverly Hills 90210, passed away at 89. So he lived a pretty long life. You may also remember him from Less Than Zero, Damien the Omen 2, and the Gumball Rally. So yeah, another one gone too soon. Well, I wouldn't say too soon. 89 is pretty good. 89 is a good amount of living.
No, I'll be disappointed if I don't get to 90.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm stubborn. I'll probably be here till I'm like 101, just to be an ass. So.
I'm trying to shoot for about 125. That's
I could see that out of you, Nick.
And I'll still be having.
You would just forget how old you were, and like somebody would go like, "How old are you, Nick?" You're like, "You know what? I don't know, but I'm diabolical."
Ooh, that pizza looks really good. That's worth breaking my back for.
They'll be like, "What's your secret to a long living life?" Pizza and cereal. And rock and roll. You don't stop rocking. That's the key.
I will be the best boomer ever. I know they say that phrase not to brag, but I'm absolutely bragging. I'm gonna be the best boomer ever. Like I'm gonna pick fights with other like old dudes who have canes and try to have like a standoff, the battle of the canes.
You'll jump in there and
cane fight. Who can go down their wheelchair the fastest down the steep street?
Yeah, I challenge you to a sword fight.
Ooh.
Jason Webster sends in 5 Australian and says Star Wars continues to circle the drain under Disney. Absolutely, Jason Webster, and thank you for the support. I appreciate that. Emotional damage. With that, kids, let's go around the rosy here. CC, are we gonna do some karaoke this week, or you don't know yet?
We got that Canadian Thanksgiving thing this weekend. So
it's always something. Well, Price of Reason and we were moonlighting on you. I don't know if you saw that.
Ooh, moonlight.
I did not see that. No, I'm completely busy this month in general for legitimate reasons. What happens after that, I have no idea, because shit costs money.
That's true.
Shit does cost money.
I hear StreamYard is raising its prices too.
Yep, that's why my Toxic Tuesday tonight's the very last stream I'm doing on StreamYard. I'm already getting my transitioning surgery going, and I'm transitioning over to Streamlabs.
Ooh.
Oh my!
So I will come out when I'm ready, but until then, you guys are stuck with me in the closet.
Gay.
Gay.
Well, we guess we do need some more representation on the show.
Put a chick in it. Make her gay.
Price, what you got going on? You got a show later on tonight, right?
Yeah, there's the Night Owl at 11:45 p.m. and that's on my live channel, Price of Reason Live. And I'll maybe try to post some kind of review this week. I don't really know yet what I'm doing, but check out my main channel too if you can. And of course, if anybody feels like subscribing to either Price of Reason Live, or both of them, that would be great.
Awesome. And we may get a special guest pop in here for a minute. We'll see. See if he makes it in here. In the meantime, Nick, we're doing Scream on Toxic Tuesday tonight.
Yes, we are. And it's going to be the last episode on StreamYard, and the first where we will dual stream with Rumble. We're doing the second hour on Rumble only. And because of Rumble only, we can actually play some video clips on there. So that should be fun. Could laugh at some of the hilarity and not play like 3 seconds of something. So looking forward to it. We're sharpening up the tools and trying a few different things on Toxic Tuesday. We'll still maintaining the audacity and the homoeroticism. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be diabolical. It's gonna be huge, and I hope to see a lot of you in less than 45 minutes for it. It's, to me, still one of the best horror movies, absolutely freaking lutely ever. And also, I have Clobby's Comic Shop Friday night and on Sunday nights now. Keyword Sunday night. After the Penguin finishes, I'm going to do a short stream, talk about the episode for the remainder of the Penguin Limited series. So keep your eyes and ears open for that. So, yeah, we're on 9:15 Central at that time.
And ladies, all right. And ladies and gentlemen, our guest has made it in here. He's coming in raging. Mr. Rhino.
You're wrapping up, and I'm just coming in.
Yeah, no, well, you're in LA, right? Or you're in the US
no,
anyway.
I'm in Orlando now.
You're in Orlando now, okay.
Yeah.
Well, so, hello, and how you liking the US?
Yeah, man, I've been having a blast, to be honest with you. Went out in LA, man, went to some great places, eaten some fatty American food with lots of cheese. It's great. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yeah, no, you sound great, actually.
Oh, good, because I'm on my phone.
No, it doesn't sound too bad at all. So I'm sure you caught some of this Star Wars business, but
I'm sort of because I'm traveling and man, with my international roaming, I got to be really careful. Otherwise, I'm going to get back home and I'm going to have like thousands of dollars on my bill. So it's hard to sort of.
You should have bought a burner phone when you got into US.
Yeah, maybe.
You could have done.
But yeah, it's been really hard to keep up with everything that's been going on. But I did notice that they did when I say they, I'm talking about the Disney Star Wars acolyte fans and stuff like that. They did that GoFundMe for a billboard or something. And I saw that they successfully got their target to be able to do that. Did you see that? Have you talked about that?
No, I had not even seen that. No.
Oh man, I need to find that. So I don't know who set it up, but they want to do a billboard to
Jesus,
get an Acolyte season 2. So they got $2,500 raised. I don't even know if $2,500's enough for a billboard these days.
That's not even enough for a sandwich.
They needed 2,200 apparently. But where is this? Sounds like a Saul Goodman type of billboard.
Man, I'm on my phone and I can't. Hang on, let me.
Sounds like you know a little bit about it, Price, but
I think that they wanted to put something in Times Square, but I think 2,200 is really low, unless it's just like 1 second. Like for a second you see it and that's it.
But I hear you like screaming at cancel pigs.
Oh yeah, yelling, getting in their faces, yelling at them, doing my Aussie thing. Man, it's such a lie. It's such bullshit. It was so funny though too, because like it was such a random thing. Like we were just walking around enjoying the con. By the way, the con was fucking awesome. I had such a blast. But yeah, we were just like walking around the con and stuff. And then we sort of got separated from some of the groups. So we were just hanging around. And then I saw Sawyer is in there. Everybody's like, oh, a couple of people have asked, like, how do you even know who she is? Because a lot of the people that I was with didn't know who she was. On my stream every week, I do a segment. Oh man, my phone's going off. I do a segment, Seal of the Week. It's kind of like Shill of the Week, but seal clappers. And she's had plenty of nominations for that. So like I recognized her and I'm like, I'm going to just go over and say something. I don't even think I said it. I just went over and I literally like called out her name to get her attention, said, "Good job trying to cancel YouTubers." She said thanks. And then because she said thanks, I realized like that's such a weird response to me coming over and saying that, that as I'm turning away, like I just called her a loser. And that destroyed, apparently it destroyed her entire con. I was harassing her. I yelled in I screamed in her face. And I like I'll learn my lesson for next time if there ever is a next time. But if I ever was to do something like that again, I'm recording it. Because if I had the
I
recording of
would.
it,
Yeah, definitely.
there
Or
would
had
be
somebody
no
else
there
do it. Yeah.
like all the people that are jumping on to defend her, if I
Mhm.
actually had a recording of it and I dropped that recording, like they would have nothing, absolutely nothing.
Right.
And I'm glad I had like the group that I was with was like right there,
Mhm.
because all of them saw it. Like, Anna was there. She just actually dropped a video about it. Anna was right there. Flash was off shopping. He was going through comic books. I told him obviously about it and everything, and we were all talking about it because it was just hilarious.
She told you to come say hello.
Well, this was the thing though. Like, I want to make it clear. I I didn't follow her on Twitter, so I didn't actually see that post. It's just funny that she actually posted that hours before saying, I'm at LA Comic Con, come and say hello. It's not like I actually saw that and then was like seeking her out or anything like that. It was just me noticing her. And I mean, the only reason why I noticed her was because of the pink hair, you know. So anyway, it was a funny situation. And yeah, then for her to come out and lie, like I didn't even post anything about the interaction until she posted her lies.
What I love here is that she says she claims this was a bad angle because somebody
Oh,
can accuse her of using filters.
yeah. Well, you know what's really funny about that picture is
Yeah.
the picture that you see there of her at the con.
Yeah.
That's actually in the background of a group picture,
Mhm.
right? So it's not like somebody saw her and goes, "Oh, I'm
Just
going to take
snapped a
a
picture of her.
just snapped a
Gotcha.
picture of her," right? It was
Ah,
just she
okay.
was in the background, and it's funny. I was just watching Anna's video, and she's kind of right. Like
Okay,
after
I
that,
see it here. Yeah, because somebody sent it to me cut off there. Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
So it's kind of funny
Okay.
because after, like, she was talking about how she was being stalked or whatever by me. I don't know. As soon
Yeah.
as that interaction happened and Chris Gore caught up to us, we started walking. We started going to the main entrance, and that's where basically that photo was taken. So we actually think what happened was she kept an eye on me and followed us out. Because we do, like, man, I was there having a fucking blast. Like, I just saw her, did my thing, walked away. It was done. That was it. You
Well,
know?
and
And the
a few
main
people.
reason, sorry, I know nobody else is really talking, but the main reason why I actually did it was because these people always talk about, oh, these people, what they say on the internet, they'll never say this shit to your face. They'll never say this shit to your face. Now, I don't know whether or not she's specifically said that before, but they all seem to be in the same boat for me. And I would have done the same thing if it was Star Wars Explained. If I had have come across Star Wars Explained, I would have walked up to Molly and Alex, called out their names like I'm going up to them, like, "Hey, how you going?" And then called them fucking idiots.
Yeah, and his six asks, who is she? Well, she is a pro acolyte Star Wars YouTuber slash Insta
She,
ticker.
the
And
main
she was one of
was,
the
reason,
yeah.
people
she,
in that
Yeah.
video where there's more of us.
yeah, the more
Trying
she
to
was in the,
deplatform, demonetize,
that's right.
And it
delete.
turned out that there wasn't more of them after all.
That
Yeah,
more of
that's
us
right.
video was the best backfire ever.
Well, the funny
There are
thing is the
even
video.
more of
The,
us.
yeah, the funny thing is that the video that I made about that there is way more of us, actually aged like really well because we talked about how there's no room for shippers and stuff like that, and that was
Yeah, we should
before.
do a new version where at the end it says acolyte canceled.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, man, like again,
Yeah.
it didn't ruin my like this whole thing. I know it's sort of half blown up on Twitter and stuff,
I'm
but
sure we'll talk about it Saturday or whatever, whenever
yeah.
you're back. Yeah.
Like I said, I never I didn't even intend on posting it, because if I actually had have intended on posting something about that interaction, I would have recorded it. You know, it was a completely impromptu. Oh, look, I know who that is. I'm going to go and call her out for her bullshit.
Well, yeah, and you were and look, I mean, you didn't. I don't think this was any secret. You were one of the main people to coordinate that video with all of us.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's kind of how you knew. You know, like you were kind of the
Well, I know
focal
all the
point of a
Star
lot
Wars.
of that
I
shit.
know
Yeah,
a lot of the Star Wars people, even the smaller channels. But like I said, if it was Molly and Alex Damon from Star Wars Explained, if it was the
right.
Kyle Katarn, man, if I had bumped into Dave Filoni, I would have walked up to him and thanked him for destroying Star Wars in a sarcastic way. Like, that's what it was. It's like, thanks for destroying Star Wars. Good on you, dickhead.
Yeah, because I love also the other side of this too is where they're like, well, nobody will walk up and say that to you in person, and then their other side is they'll always say, well, they'd punch somebody like you or something like that and call you a
Yeah.
Yahtzee. But as you've seen, she cowered over just being told, oh, you know, because she knew you were there and she felt threatened.
Oh,
You know,
man, it's so funny.
it's so silly. But we're gonna get out of here soon anyway. But I want to
Yep.
thank you, Rhino, for hopping in and excuse
No,
me,
of
giving us a
course.
update on your trip, and we're glad you
Of
made it to the
course.
U.S.
Yep, I'm posting all my stuff. So if you want
Cool.
to follow me, go over my Twitter, and I'm just taking photos as I'm doing shit. Man, it's so funny. Let me just say this. Ever since I was a kid, like, I've been begging my parents to take me to Disneyland, like, as a little kid. And now that I'm here and I've got the ability to go to Disneyland, I don't
Right.
know if I really want to go. Like,
Rather go to Universal, probably.
well, I'm going to go to Universal. I'm definitely going to Universal, but like, Jay, drunk 3PO,
Mhm.
wants to go to Star Wars Land because he knows
Oh
how
shit.
triggering that'll be for me, and it'd
Well, at least then
probably
you have a firsthand experience of it too.
well, true, and it'd probably make for some good content. Like, I'll be sitting there going, "Oh, that's fucking shit." Like, I won't make a scene or anything like that, but yeah. Anyway.
Now you just walk out of the Millennium Falcon deal. The narrative's fucked.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly.
Let's make sure you get a video of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you can end every one of your videos with that.
Yeah.
Jason Webster sends in 5 Australian in the meantime and said, Joker Folio Do is to comic book films what B-Girl Ray Gun was to the sport of breaking the 2024 Paris Olympics. You just had to throw that out there because you got a fellow Australian on the
Yeah, that's
panel,
right.
didn't you?
There was, sorry, just catch me up a little bit. I know you want to get out of here, but
No, you're fine.
there was also the actress from The Acolyte that's come out talking about.
She's been talking shit. Yeah, she was claiming that Disney didn't defend Amanda Stenberg, and she's calling him out for that. Yeah, the Yas Queen chick. Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay. That's so dumb. But first of all, like, I thought you were a strong, independent woman. Why do you need a massive corporation to come out and defend you? And defend you against what is my question? Defend her against what exactly? Like, what
Us
exactly did
racist
the...
istophobes. That's
Yeah,
what.
yeah. But where are the receipts? Show your evidence.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's what we said too. Yeah.
Mm.
No, I saw you in
Anyway.
the chat. I know you were in the US. So I thought maybe I'd throw you the link to see what you
Yeah.
thought about, but more so just to kind of get a quick say hello and see how you've been and how your trip's been and all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
no, it's been awesome. Been awesome.
Check out.
Now I'm just waiting for a hurricane.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed you don't run into that problem.
Yeah, true.
But do check out Rhino's channel, and he has an X and all that stuff, and he does bop into a Flashcast on the Saturday night show.
Yep.
Is there anything else you want to plug since you're here?
Not really. It's that follow me on. I should start calling it X because I really got an appreciation for Elon. So yeah, follow me on X. Yeah, YouTube channel Raging Rhino. That's it really. Thanks, guys. Thanks for the link.
Awesome. Well, thanks for bopping in, man. We appreciate it, and we'll have to have you back proper again when you get back and you're all settled back in. Just so let me know.
Yep.
But everybody else pretty much got to plug their wares, so we're just gonna get on out of here. So take care of yourselves and each other. See you next time.
Bye, everybody.